he was the lead guy in the DeAndre Jordan, and this might be a personal vendetta, and I will fully admit that.
Sure.
But he was one of the lead guys that caused DeAndre Jordan not to come over to the Mavs when he originally wanted to. Also,
in that argument,
if we're gonna go with the rumors, he was a big reason why the trade happened for Wes, because he was not happy in Houston. He was not happy with the fact that Harden was ball dominant, and and his game is being the field general, right? So I think that based on his actions, I don't dislike his game at all. I think that his game is fucking great. Also, if he can stay on the court, that'd be nice. Keeps getting hurt.
Okay. Being hurt doesn't make you a villain.
No, it doesn't. I'm just saying. All I'm saying is that
I've got two arguments in rebuttal to that. One, your first one with the whole locking DeAndre Jordan. That was all of the Clippers. That was CP3. That was Blake Griffin. That was all of them. All of them did that. That makes it also a little bit personal because we're going to have DeAndre Jordan when he was still really good coming over to the Mavs. So it's a little personal for us. I'm still a little salty about it too. I still love Blake Griffin. I do love CP3 though. I think he can be a little whiny and demanding sometimes. I think his situation in Houston as number 2, I think his situation in Houston just didn't work because James Harden commands that floor. It is James Harden's team. And with somebody like CP3, when you come from the Clippers where he isn't necessarily the biggest superstar, but he commands the floor. His role was the floor general. Going somewhere to try and take over the floor general
thing, Big Ben.
It doesn't work.
Yeah,
it doesn't work that way. So
you put CP3 on your villains.
Yeah, I did.
So sure, that's not gonna play as well. So I understand not being happy there. I don't think that would make him a villain. And then getting traded for Russ, who will fit better, I believe, and then going to the Thunder and now getting shopped around to go somewhere else. Honestly, for CP3, I kind of feel bad. He had a really good career as a player. Sure, he got hurt a lot, but he had a really good career.
I don't feel bad for him at all.
I think he was a good guy, and now he's just getting kind of shopped around.
So TJ's list has clearly been about play on the court, though, right? So CP3 comes over to James Harden. James Harden needs someone that's a field general, and he didn't do that. Don't worry. You can say this on the podcast. There's more Trulies in the black fridge.
Awesome.
Should we pause for a second?
No, we'll keep talking. You just go get another one.
Yeah, you already left us once.
But
we don't need you for this.
No, we got it.
We don't need you for this.
Point.
We got it.
We're fine.
Make your point.
Anyway, continuing.
This podcast is going to slowly transition into us shitting on the host.
Anthony, I know we read the reviews, and most of them were about you, but this is about us.
We can do bad all on our own.
Anyway, so TJ's list has clearly been about playing on the court. And if you get a Chris Paul because you want someone that can help James Harden, do you want to take the pressure off? You want someone like a Chris Paul that can set people up. And he didn't necessarily do that. He didn't necessarily perform to what he was brought there to do. So I get it.
My point is not on the court. I enjoy his play on the court. My point is, okay, let's go throughout the entirety of CP3's career.
Sure.
I think that based on what we've been arguing about who is a hero or who is a villain, CP3, you look at him, I love him as a person off the court. I think that he's wonderful. I just want to say that. I think that he's a great dude, and I do enjoy watching him on the court. But I think that in terms of looking at his decisions in the NBA, he fucking left the Hornets, right?
Oh, God, I loved watching him and Tyson
Why
Chandler
not,
together.
though?
He left the Hornets for the Clippers, which is fine. Then he started he was just involved in a lot of drama that I don't necessarily agree with. Even I'm trying to put myself out of a Mavs fan's perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
He's involved in a lot of drama, and then here recently, ever since he got on the Clippers, there's constantly drama that circulates around him.
Drama's always around
which
him,
leads me to my next one, Jimmy Butler.
Ooh, that's a good villain.
I don't agree.
Jimmy Buckets.
Well, okay, half agree.
In my personal opinion, I love watching him on the court. I love watching his game. But I think if we're going to look at a villain, and the villain sense of this villain in the NBA that is built up for a villain, I think Jimmy Buckets makes a perfect villain. I'm not saying I dislike him. I just think that he's a villain based on the NBA. Yeah. And the reason for that is that drama constantly circulates around him.
Right.
He was one of the OG guys that demanded a trade from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he demanded a trade from Chicago first. He demanded a trade from Minnesota.
Who wouldn't demand a trade from Chicago?
That's
That is
fair.
A poorly run
That's fair.
organization.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Also, that city's amazing. So
he
I wouldn't
also
wanna leave.
did demand a trade from Minnesota. That there was it got kind of weird with it.
It was, as far as I can see the clip going, they were saying they don't need you, and then he was
Right.
demolishing everybody in practice and said, "You need me."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a two-way street. So here's my opinion on Jimmy Butler, and I do like Jimmy Butler. I mean, he's not my favorite, but I like him.
I like him too, but I think he's a villain.
I don't think he's a villain. I think he's an anti-hero.
Oh no!
Yes, I think he's an anti-hero.
No.
I think he's just solely out for Jimmy Butler. And I don't think, this is the big thing, is I don't think Jimmy Butler really gives a fuck about a lot of things. I think
doesn't.
he loves being a basketball player, and he likes winning, and he just likes getting paid to fucking play basketball.
If he liked to win, he would have stayed on the 76ers and wouldn't have gone to the Heat.
100%.
Not a good fit. I don't think it was
not
a good fit. I
They
think
lost on a game-winning shot.
Yeah, they barely lost.
They
dude.
lost to the NBA champs.
personality-wise.
Oh, dude, no.
Because he's, sure, he's hard to deal
that
with.
was the
He's
only
not a-
time in his entire career that I've seen him actually be a teammate.
Yeah, and he's not a big personality. You have Embiid to be your big personality in fucking Philadelphia.
No,
That's
he's not a
perfect
big
for
he's
him.
not a big showboating personality, but he's a big off-court personality, i.e.
Right.
the whole Minnesota thing.
Right.
He likes thinking he's the best player on the team.
He just wants to be a superstar, and
Yeah,
he
he
just wants to
does.
get paid.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about wins.
So
he
goes,
obviously doesn't care about rings.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. And he's just a guy that likes to get paid to play basketball, and he loves playing
you have
basketball.
stuck with this point for we haven't talked about it on the podcast. You do stick with that you think Jimmy Butler just likes being an NBA superstar.
Yeah, I think he just likes doing it, and I respect the fuck out of that.
I can respect it, but that's still a villain.
But I don't think that makes him a villain. I think it makes him an anti-hero.
Oh, I think it makes
he's
him a
just
villain.
out for himself.
It makes him a villain.
So
That's a villain.
To base off your comic book post or comic book point a minute ago, he's kind of like Deadpool. He doesn't give a fuck. He's on his own team. He'll help out the good guys. He'll help out the bad guys as long as it benefits him.
I can see that, actually.
But where it makes him a bad guy
I can see that.
is as we are a fan podcast, as a fan of whatever team Jimmy Butler goes to, he's just there to make money and score buckets. That's it. He's
Jimmy
there-
Buckets.
But that makes him a villain because
I don't think so.
he will never be a hero for a fan. Never be a hero for a fan because it's all about Jimmy Butler all the time.
Well, then does it
24/7.
come down to, he has to take care of his own life for a little bit. You can't base your whole thing off the fans.
But
No,
we're going back to the players deal too. I think that Jimmy, just to go back to last episode, I think Jimmy Buckets is actually one of the greatest points of being a players' league.
oh for sure.
Like
Yeah,
that
he
is a
controls his
perfect
life.
example.
Yeah.
Like of him capitalizing on that. Okay, to round out my fifth, not in any particular order, but to round out, what you got?
No, it's nothing.
Okay,
Go for it.
to round out, I got Anthony Davis
Oh, I would not think that he'd be there.
as my final villain.
Hot take.
Reason why? Reason why is because I understand that he was fed up over New Orleans. I get it. I get it. You know, we constantly started to watch, and season after season, Anthony Davis was just killing it. And I'm not doubting that. On the court, he has been killing it, and he killed it for New Orleans constantly. They tried to get him appeased with DeMarcus Cousins. I think it worked out well, but it didn't work out well enough, right? Obviously, because it didn't result in a ring. And this is what this guy wants.
We always leave out Drew
He's
Holiday.
ring-based. Drew Holiday he's serviceable,
He's perfect in that role. They should
Sure.
have been a great team.
sure. But the reason why I think Anthony Davis is a villain is the exact reason, same reason, of why, when I was talking last episode, anytime somebody demands a trade, and I should have put Paul George on my villains just because of this, but anytime somebody demands a trade, if you sign a contract, play it out. I get that, you know, there's a lot of pressure around you, honestly, and I think that Anthony Davis felt a lot of pressure around him to just get out immediately, and I get that, but I still think that makes you a villain in this climate of the NBA. I still think I understand why Paul George and Anthony Davis did what they did. I still think that makes them a villain. With Anthony Davis, I still think it makes him a villain because, one, okay, you gave everything to New Orleans. I get it. Just play out your contract.
Yeah.
Dude, his antics this past season makes him a villain. Like, straight up. It makes him a villain. He like sat there and was doing this, little superstar mentality, which he is a great player. Don't get me wrong. He has the right to be, but to sit there and say, you know what, I'm not going to play unless you trade me. That's not cool, man. You signed a contract. Just play out the rest of the season, man. They were clear. The front office was clear of like trying to move you. And you know what? I'm not going to take the front office side of things because I think that the front office of New Orleans is just
fucked.
Yeah, they're dumb.
Yeah.
But to my point, that makes you a villain because you're sitting there like, you know what? I'm not going to play for you. Fucking trade me. Give me what I want, or I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And I think that makes you a villain in the current climate of the NBA. I think that's what makes you a villain. Is that if you're the selfish entitlement that's easy for fans to sit there and say, you know what, you're a villain.
I like that you pointed out too that he thought he was a superstar, but there's no winning record to attach to that superstar. Someone called him a loser, but it wasn't. Was it you? Did you call him a loser on Wednesday when we were hanging out?
Loser.
He is a loser.
Yeah, no,
he can't win
so far.
I mean,
but is that his fault? Because
no, it's not.
The thing.
It's not his fault. But look at his conference. So you have in that conference, you have the Mavs, you have the Spurs, you have Houston, you have them, and you have Grizzlies, Memphis.
No, that division is all the Texas teams. So you got the 3 Texas teams,
and I'm pretty sure the Grizzlies.
Is it the Grizz?
Yeah, it's the Grizzlies.
It's the Grizzlies.
And so like, it's always been them right above the Mavs,
right?
And the Mavs aren't good.
Recently, no.
They're not. They're not good right now.
Yeah,
they haven't. In past,
they're a better organization, which is weird.
They're a better organization, but they're not good.
Barely.
We're getting there. We're building.
Right, barely. Yeah,
that's not the point. But Anthony Davis is a loser right now. He came out as the number 1 prospect when Kentucky won their thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he came out as the number 1 prospect, went to the Pelicans, of course.
Dude, I give him all the credit, too. I give him all the credit for staying there. I do.
I give him all the credit for staying there. I give him all the credit for them not being worse than they probably should have been.
Sure. Right.
But, and sure, he put up some numbers. He got hurt a couple times. He put up some numbers. But I think that was just LeBron in his ears because he's in LeBron's agency. And he went Clutch. What's it called?
Yeah, it's Clutch Sports. Yeah,
Clutch Sports. And so, of course, LeBron got in his ears like, "Hey, come play with me over here."
Right. Sure.
So I think, well, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not agreeing with you. I think it's one of those just like a young kid who wants some good opportunity.
He's like he's not 30.
Young. Is he almost 30?
Dude, he's been in the league for a whole minute, homie.
Maybe.
He's been in the league for a whole minute.
Davis
but he's not as old as some of the other guys.
Yeah, hold on a second. No, he's not. But like at the same time, real quick, at the same time, he's not the young kid that we think he is.
Sure, but in the sense of like,
I understand.
He's never been a part of a winning team. I
understand his move. All I'm saying is that in the current climate of the NBA, if we're going to look at villains, in my personal opinion, whenever I look at villains, I say Anthony Davis is a villain.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
And yeah.
I'm not saying I disagree with his moves. I'm just saying in the current climate of the NBA, I think that he's a villain.
And so I'm not gonna put him in my villains list for me. Mm-hmm. But I'm not gonna disagree. I see where your point comes
Actually,
from.
Joe is not wrong. He's 26. He is definitely a young kid.
26 is not a young kid.
He played like 1 year at Kentucky. He was like a one and done.
Yeah, it was a one and done. He started that one and done.
And his one and done was 2011.
Was he the start of the Kentucky? Yeah, he was.
He was one of the OG like one and dones with the Kentucky run.
He was one of the big one and dones.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like with that Kentucky, Kentucky has that like stigma about it. One and done.
MKG
one and done
was one too. Michael Kidd Gilchrist left that year too.
There's a lot of people that are Kentucky one and dones.
Yep.
Or two and done.
Kentucky is the one and done school.
Yeah,
in basketball.
I mean,
was one of them,
Duke is a little bit too, but not as bad. They're generally like a 2, 3.
Yeah, well, when you have Coach K.
Well, yeah, when you have these superstar college coaches, they pump out players that are really good that immediately want to go to the NBA.
Well,
they base their thing around that.
Also, the fact that Coach K actually coaches the national basketball team. Right. There's a big difference between Coach Calipari and Coach K.
There's also a huge difference.
Coach Calipari, you cannot deny, is a great coach.
No,
he's fine. But
he's a great coach.
You can't deny.
He's not on the level of Coach K.
No, he's not. Coach K and Coach Pop are the two best coaches of all time.
You also have to think there's a difference between who?
In the NBA? Or in basketball?
At least
that's still coach.
No,
sorry.
what are you talking about? There's still Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach.
I'm talking that still. Sorry, I said of all time. That's still coach. They're the two greatest coaches in basketball.
Yeah. Well, Pop's,
but I mean, they're still.
Landslide.
They're also still up there in
what
of all time.
What are you talking about? It's Rick Carlisle.
There's also a big difference between the one and dones with you had Jahlil Okafor, who was also a one and done from Duke, versus,
Get off me, TJ.
you also, Jesus Christ.
Somebody get me a Truly.
Okafor. Can we talk about how big of a bust he was?
He's the biggest bust in a wall.
No, he's not.
No, Greg Oden will.
Greg Oden is the